Hello, everyone. My name is Angermann. I'll be talking about our current game project, Seeds of Soul, and how we build a community around the game with our development streams on Twitch. So first, does it work? Yeah. Just a few words about myself. You probably don't know me. Well, I've been dabbling in game dev since 1999, and so for me, I kind of grew up with those games like Doom and Quake, and then eventually I had this moment when I changed from a gamer to a game dev, trying just to experiment with things. And well, I have a technical background, so I studied telematics and network engineering. And well, right after my studies, I actually then founded Rarebyte, this studio that we call an indie studio. But what is indie nowadays anyways? For us, it means that we're independent. There is no external investor, so everything is our own, and it's our own money and our own ideas we basically keep working with. And the company was founded in 2006, so it has been a while in this industry. At the moment, we have a core team of 10 people, and those 10 people are basically working from our offices in Vienna and in Graz in Austria. On top of that core team, we do work with additional freelancers. So we have a pool of freelancers where we pick the right people for the right job. And in all those years, we've worked on more than 25 titles so far on all the major platforms. And my monitor is not working here, but this is kind of an overview of some of the games we have worked on. And as you can see, there is just a wide variety of different genres and different games. So there is Endless Runners, there's an RPG, there's mobile, there is some event games, and there is Seeds of Soul, our current project. But the game we're probably best known for is this one. It's Game Dev Tycoon for mobile, which we did in collaboration with Greenheart Games. So this was just a quick introduction. But if you take a look at all those games that we did in the past, we had a certain approach to game dev. And a lot of game development studios have this kind of approach that, well, you kind of work on an idea, but you kind of lock yourself in, and you never show something about your new game until you're really done. And if someone asks in between, well, you say, when it's done. And so this is like some of the usual approaches a lot of studios have. And we thought, what could we do differently with Seeds of Soul? Or when starting a project, what could be, how could we improve on that? So at the time, we looked at what others were doing in this area of live development and streaming. And of course, there was Flambeer. Probably everyone knows this Dutch company for doing this with Nuclear Throne. And they had something that they called performative development. It means you're not actually only developing a game on stream, so it's not just development, it's actually performing for an audience. So the audience should be engaged, and it's actually a performance like an art performance. And they also had this term of development as content. So it's not only just, again, development, it is the development itself is also like consumable content for potential players or potential customers. Then there are other approaches to live streaming, such as this streamer does, Game Dev Company. Actually, I think there are two people, but they have a different approach. They have more like a community building thing than rather working on concrete games. And they do something like a Steam trending research, where they would look at other indie games and the performance of other indie games. It was a bit easier back then when Steam Spy was still giving out good numbers, but I think they're still doing it. But they have some other formats as well. So they also have game dev talks, where we would just sit down with other game developers and just discuss different kind of topics with them and with the chat. And then they have game critique. And game critique is where you can send in your indie games, and they would be played live on stream. And then an open discussion is started. What is good about this game? What works very well? What does not? And so there's a constant discussion about that. Then there's another category of streams, like hardcore development streams or programming streams, such as Jonathan Blow's streams. He does a lot of programming on stream. It's like hardcore programming streams. He also develops his own language called J, partially on stream. But those three examples, just some examples that we looked at, we still had to answer, why should we do this? So for us, we're a small indie studio. And as an indie studio, you always have this problem with visibility. So we thought, okay, the number one reason should actually be community building. So building a community while you are still developing a game. And the reason behind that is that when the game eventually is then finished or done or released to the market, the community is already there and helps you push out the release and spread the word. But it is more than that. It is also brand promotion. So you, in doing that, you have the brand, which means you have the game that you want to promote. But it's not only the game, it's also the company behind that game. So it's promoting the company for whatever the company does additionally or does as its next project, for example. And moreover, it's the people behind the company. Because when you stream, a lot of the viewers will actually relate to who is streaming the content. So the people are very important to that. And without further ado, I just want to introduce you to our current project, which is called Seeds of Soul, so that you all know what kind of game we are actually talking about. And Seeds of Soul is a game set out in a strange universe, and just imagine you're stranded on a strange, long-forgotten corner of space and time, and your best hope there for survival is an AI companion that has multiple personalities. So what could go wrong? And in its core, the game is an action-adventure with roguelike elements and has this special hook that it has this AI companion that has multiple personalities, and sometimes it will help you, sometimes it has other ideas. Here's a short gameplay footage of the game. I hope this works, yeah. Yeah, this was like a quick overview. Well, then there was the question, why should we do this with Seeds of Soul? Why with this game? And first, and this is kind of obvious, but it's our own IP. In contrast to a lot of projects that we have done in the past, those projects where this was just a lot of contract work. And if you do contract work, you always have to ask, am I allowed to do this? How about this? And probably a publisher or partner says, nah, you can't do this, we don't want this. But with your own IP, you can just decide to do that. And second, it is a roguelike, which means it has randomness in the game, and it's going to be different each time you play the game. So it's perfect for streaming. It's not like you're spoiling anything of the game. And it is a very system-driven game. That means we have a lot of systems in place that actually interact with each other, and this makes it good for streaming because you can just implement these different systems and then like tweak the interaction between systems and iterate on that. It is not, although it has a background story, it is not story-driven. So again, it's not like spoiling a linear story or something. And it has a lot of procedural content, so it will look different each time you play the game. You have a different kind of level layout, different kind of items and weapons and stuff you can find. And even if you play the game on stream, like a full run of the game, you will not see everything that is in the game. Well, let's take a look at the target audience. What is the target audience of development streams? So for us, first thing is, of course, potential players. So those are the players that are interested in like the genre or the type of game you're working on, and maybe those are the people who actually buy your game when the game is released. But also people that want to test your game. So it is like streaming the development, letting people watch what's happening, but also like recruiting testers in a way that you can give them early test builds, collect feedback. So it's also about testing. And then it's also about other developers that will join your stream and give you feedback on like a developer level. And there's a constant exchange of information. If we now take a look at the different phases of development, because the target audience will be different depending on what phase of development the game is in. So in early development, there's mainly developers. This was the experience that when we started that, a lot of developers joined the stream and not really a lot of players. There were just some players interested in game development in general. But if we then move on to mid-development, where things start to look a little bit better, not only code, but also a little bit more graphics and visually appealing. You would also have developers there, of course, but also like alpha testers and more potential players that are becoming more and more interested in the game. And then, the game is still in development, so we haven't reached that third phase yet. But if you look at beta release and even post-launch, then there will be mainly players watching your streams and less developers. Well, if we now take a look at the type of streaming platform, well, we decided to go for Twitch, because Twitch is by far the largest platform to do this. And at the moment, it also has this game development category. So people interested in developing the games can just look up this category and see what's going on. Twitch also has this creative category where there is just a lot of different creative processes being streamed, not only games. We had been in this category before. I think it is now better with game development as category. And then there are tags. They're just quite new to Twitch. You can just add tags to each of your streams. And I highly recommend just adding tags just before you start the stream, because it makes like looking up your stream easier. If people are specifically looking for something, they will find it. And we have also tried Restream.io. That's basically a platform that enables you to stream simultaneously to different streams or stream platforms. I can't actually tell you a lot about that because we just started this 2 weeks ago, but we're simultaneously streaming to YouTube and Mixer as well. And we also decided to have different categories of streams. So the first category would be just development streams, and the development stream could be a game design stream, where a game designer streams what he does or what she does. So you can take a look at how the systems are interconnected, what the game design background is. You can just ask in the chat like game design related questions and get in touch and take a look at how is a game actually tweaked or balanced in a way. And then there's programming streams. That is what I mainly do. So you can watch us just program the game. This is something maybe more interesting for other programmers or just people like interested in how the game is actually, what drives a game. And on top of that, we have art streams where you could watch artists do animations, for example, or 3D modeling, or then there's also level design streams. So those three categories are development streams, but we have, on top of that, we have office streams. And office streams, basically this is just a camera showing our office or one room in the office. And you could just see us working there. Sometimes we use that as a kind of a lame excuse when when the times are super stressful and we do not have that much time to talk. But you could see how the developer life is actually. And also you take kind of part in the studio culture, and there's a lot of jokes, of course, but the interaction with those streams, they're mainly in the chat. Every once in a while we then show a screen and talk a little bit, but it's mainly chat. Well, at some point, we even streamed an internal game jam where we played around with new mechanics for Seeds of Soul, and we had 2 days, and we streamed the whole 2 days. And this was like an experiment, but it turned out that people were actually interested, and a lot of people are just watching this scene here. And here's a time lapse, by the way. This should have audio. It has not, but thank you. Yeah. So the 2 days in 20 seconds or something. Then there is another category, and this is quite interesting, playtesting streams. So those streams are basically something where you take a current build of the game and then play this current build just to test a run of the game. But it's not just developers doing that. We actually invite guests to do that. So this means someone from the community or someone that is currently available and has not played the game before will just jump in and play the game live on Twitch. And a developer would sit next to that person. But this is the point where it gets interesting, because when people start playing your game, and they have to say out loud what they think about the game. And this is where it's interesting for a developer not to just jump in and say, oh, now this is meant that way and you shouldn't do this. So defending your game, this is something that developers naturally do, but you shouldn't do that. So it's more like collecting the feedback and listening to people. And it's always, when we start a stream like that, the first thing I say to those guests is, please play the games, just tell us what your thoughts are, and also tell us what is the most annoying thing about the game right now. But maybe also tell us something that you find interesting or exciting. And then there is an open discussion about that. So we would just collect feedback and discuss with the guests on stream and also with the audience in the chat, of course. Well, so we've been doing this for a while now with the streams, all those different kinds of streams. And I'd like to tell you what went wrong so far. So first, schedule. Well, having a schedule is not a bad idea. We had so much going on at our studio that we had times where we either couldn't stream for a couple of weeks, or we said, okay, stream days like Wednesday, and then Wednesday morning, oh, we can't do that because there's this other project coming up and we have to do something else, and then it got postponed. And this really annoys viewers. So you should have a great schedule or a schedule that you can stick with. Next, clear vision or clear goal versus iterative approach. When we started out doing that game, we had a goal in mind where we would want to go, but it's not like you have this clear path. It's more, in game dev, it's always like a bit of a journey or process to get there, and that's something that's not very, viewers cannot really understand that from the very beginning. You have to explain this over and over again. This is like when you you develop a feature and you spend a week on a feature, and viewers also get excited about that. And then you maybe say, okay, it's not going to work. We're going to just throw this out because it just does not work. And people say, why? And then you have to explain over and over again. This is how it works then, actually. But to be honest, a clear vision, we could have done this in a better way in hindsight. So what went wrong with our streaming as Rarebyte? We actually had multiple developers streaming with our company account, and this resulted in who is that? That means, for example, we had an art stream. An artist would model something, and then people get excited about that and join the next stream. And the next stream was going to be a programming stream, and someone else was streaming, of course, and people came back and, am I viewing the right channel? Well, what's happening? Why is this another person? Because they're not used to that on Twitch, because Twitch is such a personal thing. Like one account is one person that streams on that account. And there's another thing that people came back and they said, what? Why is there no progress here? Why are you still working on that little feature there? And there's a reason we had to explain to people. And what people actually saw is this. So there's been a long time we've been working on this project, and people just say, okay, this is an indie studio that is working on Seeds of Soul. What will actually happen at the studio was this. At the same time, we were actually working on other projects. So, for example, Game Dev Tycoon, and some other event games, and even NDA stuff that we can't talk about even right now. Game Dev Tycoon was a little bit better because at some point it got released, or at least announced, so we could tell people, yeah, we're working on this as well. But this was a big difference for us during this live streams. But there's some things that went right as well. And one thing is that we managed to build up kind of a hardcore follower base. So this is like the backbone of your development stream. These are people that are really, they see something in your project, in your game, or in what you do, and they will follow you, and they will be viewing all your streams if they can. And this has turned out to be really a nice community thing, just to see people returning over and over again and taking part in the whole process. Then again, multiple persons or developers streaming as Rarebyte. For us, this is positive as well, because we had different kinds of streams. It was not always like programming streams or always art streams. It was different kinds of streams. So that is positive as well. Overall, I can say that collecting feedback during those streams, this is just invaluable. It's really awesome to see what people come up. Of course, you have to take care how to handle that kind of feedback, and not all the feedback is good feedback, of course. But as a developer, you can just filter. Well, and then there's this thing. Imagine when you're doing a programming stream, and sometimes it can be boring because you run into a problem and you're gonna debug this thing for half an hour. How would you actually engage viewers? So engaging viewers is one of the most important things when doing development streams. And on Twitch, gotta say, Twitch is actually not about your game or the content you're streaming. It's more about you, the streamer. So it's more a personality thing that you overcome this kind of boring phase in the stream and make jokes and talk to people while you're still working on that problem. And yes, it can be hard. It's hard to write code, focus on what you're doing there, then next to it, read chat and talk a lot and respond to questions and do this at the same time for a couple of hours. Of course, you have to manage expectations. So that means if you say something on stream and people get excited about that, this can be dangerous. in a way that sometimes you have an idea, you try to implement that, and it's not going to work in the end, and you have to throw it away again. And people are still excited about that, and then they're like, yeah, disappointed. Why is this gone? I really like that feature. So you have to be careful about generating hype, but you also need to explain this process to people over and over again. But for engaging viewers, we got more in place. We also implemented a reward system to reward loyal viewers that will join all our streams or come back. And we have an in-stream currency called bytes, because we're called Rarebyte, so bytes kind of make sense. And these bytes can be collected by just watching the stream. So every 10 minutes, you get 10 bytes. And with those bytes, you're actually ranked in the leaderboard. And everyone wants to be first on the leaderboard, just a simple mechanic. And we also added minigames in the chat. So again, if this is like a boring phase of the stream, you can just play a minigame with others in the chat. Or yeah, you can just spend your bytes on dueling other players, for example. Or you could just keep collecting them and then redeem something from our stream store. And this is something where we add new content that can be redeemed as a reward for loyal viewers. And for example, we have concept art postcards. And those are really physical awards. So if you redeem them, we'll just actually send you a physical postcard via snail mail with whatever you selected here. And you can collect them, of course. And then we have developed something to find secrets in our office. And this is meant to be as a pre-stream engagement. Pre-stream is when the stream starts, there's a period of like 10 to 15 minutes where there's a countdown and then the actual stream starts. But in this time, people can control this office cam, this office view from the chat. So they can just move the camera around and then find hidden objects there. We did that with those postcards. People are actually like fighting in the chat, like, oh, move the camera to the right. No, it's on the left. And you're just engaging more and more viewers. And if someone actually finds a secret, the task is to take a screenshot of that and then, for example, tweet it. And this way, you actually increase coverage or reach on other platforms as well. And which is also a good thing, like to drive increase your follower base on other platforms such as Twitter, for example. Well, if you have been doing this stream for a while, it actually develops some kind of a life on its own. So there will be jokes that only people would understand that are following the stream for a longer time. Of course, there's Twitch and the emotes and etc. For us, it turned out that someone from our community did these, like taking random pictures from our stream and then, well, yeah, throwing them in Photoshop and doing just crazy stuff with that. Yeah, so thanks, Skull1 from the community for that. And yeah, just to conclude with, I'd like to give you a short overview of our tools that we use. For streaming, you use OBS software, streaming software. I guess this is pretty much standard. Everyone uses that. We use stream elements for the reward system and the overlays in the stream. And then we developed a custom-made bot to pipe stream chat into Slack. And there's a specific reason for that. Because we had the idea, okay, if this stream is going on for hours and people are just having ideas in the chat, we need something to save the chat, and we internally use Slack, so it kind of made sense that we have this searchable in Slack. And then we have this custom-made office cam control thing that you can just use commands in the chat and control the camera. We added stream chat commands as well, and timers, for example. Just those are things that every half an hour, for example, a timer would just post something in the stream chat with more links or the trailer to the game or other social media channels that you can very good follow us. We also have something for frequently asked questions because, like, the typical thing is someone joins the stream, and the first question is, oh, I'm new to game dev. How do I start? And there's, for example, the learn command that gives you an overview of like a couple of tutorials and like points you in the right direction. And there's also like people asking like during streams where you're actually working on a feature and there's nothing like visually appealing on screen. How does the final game, how is it supposed to look like? And then you can just show him the trailer by using a trailer command. We've added fun stuff as well. You could ask our coffee machine how many coffees it has made so far. You can control the camera. So there's a lot of other fun stuff being added. Like with every stream, there's something new. Well, as a takeaway, if you want to develop games live on Twitch or just in general on any platform, well, at all times, explain what you're doing. At any time, talk about what you're doing, why you're doing this, and how things work together. And yes, talk a lot. Really talk all the time and talk faster than you normally do, because people, especially on Twitch, are used to like have this constant thing, people talking very fast, and it should be very engaging. And use proper equipment for that. So get a good microphone, get a camera, get a green screen if you can, and make jokes. And yes, my puns do count as jokes. Have a schedule. Have something regular. Just create a schedule, stick to that schedule, and people will actually then integrate this into their own schedule and come back to your stream. Do recaps of your stream. That means if your stream is finished, take a look at the highlights. Maybe there's something funny that has happened on stream. Do a short clip or a GIF or anything, and just put this out on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, whatever. Just something to like have more coverage and have more community involvement in that. And last but not least, of course, this is like general advice. If you're working with community and talking to people, be always excellent to each other. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, please ask.
Hi. So earlier you talked about having started using Restream.io.
Mm-hmm.
What I was wondering about that is what you do when it comes to the different chats.
Yeah, good question. I have to say we have started doing the Restream thing like 2 weeks ago. So we don't announce yet that we are on YouTube and Mixer as well. So it started like a technical experiment. But concerning the chat, there is a Restream chat app where you can actually see all the comments from all those platforms. It's a bit problematic in a way that you as a streamer see this. You can also integrate this in your stream, but people are kind of, especially if they, for example, if they are on Twitch and they have the Twitch chat and just look at the Twitch chat, they only will see the Twitch messages there and not what's coming from YouTube. There is a way that you can, in Restream, that you can pipe the other chats into Twitch and vice versa, but it does not work for all the different combinations of platforms. We tried that with the first or second stream in these experiments and then turn it off again because it was kind of spammy. Not sure if this is going to improve, but as a streamer, you have this kind of a combined chat.
Yeah, and in terms of moderation, does it like multiply the amount of work you have to do, or it's sparse enough that it's okay?
Well, a funny thing is we in terms of like moderation, I mean, reacting to the chat, of course, depends on how many viewers and how many chat messages there are. But for us, we have really peaceful streams. There is not a lot of trolls. I think we had on Twitch a couple of banned users, but we don't use any moderation at all. I mean, it's just a click away, of course, but there was no real situation where I don't know, some trolls took over and something bad happened.
Okay, how many concurrent viewers is that?
it could be up to 70 at the time. So this is for like an indie student and the development stream. We think it's quite okay. I mean, if we compare the numbers to, I don't know, something who's well known like Jonathan Blow, he gets like 200 or 300. This is something different because he's very well known. But for us, 70 is like a good level for now. We hope to, of course, like improve there and get more and more as we progress with the development. But yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Hi, first of all, thank you for your talk. Vielen Dank.
Thank you.
What I was wondering about is the development of the stream. How long is it running already? How long are you doing it already? Like, when did you start with streams?
We started about, we think it's nearly 2 years now, but we had, because I mentioned the problem with the schedule, in between we had 2 periods where we had no stream for like 2 or 3 months. And that is of course a problem because people then think, okay, this is kind of abandoned, they're not working on this anymore. And this was because we had so much going on at the studio at the time. And also, when we started, we had only like 1 stream a week, and it's kind of hard to stick to that schedule. So it has been a while, but we currently try to intensify, like putting more and more streams. For the last couple of weeks, there was like 3 or 4 streams a week. And the schedule now works in a way that we have one day where there's like Thursday is stream day. So Thursday is like the full afternoon until the evening. And for the other streams, we just plan ahead. Like on Monday, there would be a new schedule for the week. So then it's sometimes you see Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, or maybe and Friday. But we try to push that to the community at the beginning of the week.
Okay. You said you mentioned you're working on several projects, but if you are working on your main game, which you're streaming, how do you decide which parts of the development you stream, or do you stream all the time when you are developing this game?
No, we don't stream all the time because there's actually more people working simultaneously, so you would have multiple streams.
I mean, one stream, of course.
Yeah. No, we don't stream everything. We try to like pick topics that are better in a way, but sometimes it's just what we are currently working on. And it's also part of the process. But if it's possible, we'll say, okay, let's do this feature on stream because it's maybe visually more appealing to viewers. But sometimes it can be hardcore programming. Depends. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry if I'm asking too many questions. If you guys want to take over, just very interesting. You have multiple developers in your stream. Is there like that multiple developers said, yeah, I want to do this, and this number is increasing, or how many of your team are streaming? Currently, actually, it started with the fact that one of our developers had this idea that we're just, why not stream our development? And then we thought, okay, that's actually a cool idea. And he was the first one to stream some programming. And then I jumped in with some more programming. Our creative director also jumped in with art direction and modeling streams, for example, and our game designer as well. So it's actually 4 people, like. And you said you have 10, so 4 out of 10. Pardon? So you are 10 people, so 4 out of 10 are streaming, which is good. And you are doing it for 2 years now. So you mean you started over time? So you're seeing improvements in the quality of the stream?
I guess so. I hope so. I mean, do you mean like increasing the viewer count, or
no, in your
or for myself, like being a better streamer?
Representation, feeling better, getting a better workflow.
Definitely. Like my personal view on this is when we started, like the very first stream, you don't know what you're actually doing there, and you have to take a look at all the different things. It's like my setup is like this. I have one screen in front of me, which is actually also on the stream, and then I have the chat somewhere, and then I have another chat for internal stuff, and then I have the streaming software, and taking a look at all those things at the same time, you have to get used to that, and react to people's messages in a timely manner. like instantly and still working on focusing, this is something you have to get used to. And over time, I think we all got better doing that. So it's just a matter of practice in a way.
Okay. I would ask one more question. The community. I guess everyone who worked with community here knows that players has difficulties or don't want to accept that games take a lot of work, and like, what's your experience, or what have you seen with the community? Have there been cases where players actually recognized and changed their view over time that development takes a lot of work and so?
Definitely. We had one case, and it is like, this sounds like a cliche story, but this really happened. One just jumped into the stream, and this was a player, or so a non-developer, not knowing anything about development. Then was the question, what type of game is this? And we said, okay, this is single player, but we try to, like, maybe depending on the funding, we will probably add local multiplayer. And then this person said, why not add online multiplayer? It's just simple. It's just like a checkbox you can click. This really happened, and then you have to explain, no, it's not like that. And you start explaining, listen, if you want to do this online, you have to do this, then you have to do this, then you have to test this, and so on and so forth. And that kind of changed the view of this person, but because this person then said, okay, I did not know that. Although I did not explain like the full process, just like the beginning, but people were actually then seeing that it takes more to make a game, or to add multiplayer functionality in this case.
Thank you.
So I have a very practical question. Being a coder who was actually kind of considering doing this Twitch live streaming of programming, how the hell do you code and you talk all the time?
Well, basically, it's like you're hacking away and then saying, I have no idea what I'm doing. It's not what I'm doing here, why is this working or why is this not working? Basically, this is like, you have to be in the right headspace for this. And this takes some practice. And you have to like keep a balance of just, it's not like reading your own code at all times, but also like making jokes, reacting to the chat while reading code. And it can be really hard. It's like you kind of really need to be in the right headspace for this. It's sometimes there's this pitfall that when you code, first you start to explain something. Okay, we're gonna add this method here that's gonna do that, and I'm gonna add that, and this goes on like this. Like you're just mumbling in a way, and then you have to like remind yourself, oh no, you can't do this. You have to like be certain and talk and engage people and like, oh no, this is not working. We'll try something else, and just sometimes a little bit of like shouting to yourself helps a lot. So yeah, it's just again something you have to get used to.
But I'm also wondering, because it's a form of distraction, right? Have you noticed that the code quality has gone down, or maybe actually it has gone up with time because you're essentially having the rubber ducky with you all the time?
It can be both. It really depends on how your day is, or how you feel during the stream. Because sometimes you would just say, okay, people, let's just try this, do this very nasty hack to get things like going and just experimenting if this feature is working at all. And some other day you would actually like read some code, and then for us, for example, we have the rule in the studio, if you see something that you don't understand, or if there's something in the code that we have an idea that could be done better, so improve code quality, you just write a comment and say code review. We're gonna review that. And I do this live on stream as well. Just say, okay, I stumbled just over this piece of code. Let's add this thing here so that we can discuss, and just be very open about that. It's in a way, of course, people just look over your shoulder all the time, but this is, you have to like, it's not rocket science in a way. Yeah, it's not like you have to be certain at all times. It has to be every word that you write must stay that way. It always changes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your project looks very interesting. I have a question. Do you have some metrics or a correlation between a stream event and count of your subscribers on Facebook, Twitter, or something like that? Thank you.
Well, yes, you can see that, but it depends on how often you remind people to follow you somewhere else. And sometimes, if you do this too often, people would actually get annoyed. Even the people that have already followed you will read that, yeah, I just did that. So you have to be a little bit careful. It's always a good idea to take this into a context. So if someone asks a question, then you can say, oh yeah, good question. Say, just explain in a very short sentence, and then say, we actually have a screenshot just showing this problem or explaining something over at Twitter, and here's our Twitter, for example. You have to be like creative in a way. Like speaking of subscribers, because you mentioned that, we've seen like we actually did not ask people to subscribe on Twitch because this is not something where we see a revenue stream for us at the moment. But it turned out that some people actually just want to support us and they subscribe. And of course, you have to, this is like the typical thing on Twitch. If someone follows you or subscribes, you'd call him out and just say thank you. And yeah, and we also have, of course, notifications showing up that someone has subscribed, and the community feels good about that, and that's very nice.